lone survivor ran through the factory as fast as he could. He was the last of his group, one of the so-called resource extraction specialists who had been sent in to Playtime Co. He had no idea what he'd end up finding inside. He heard the noise of squeaky springs behind him and turned to see the most horrible sight. It was a monster, a living jack-in-the-box creature with sharp claws and teeth. Boxy Boo. He watched as Boxy Boo tossed one of his dead friends aside and turned to face him. The survivor tried to run, but Boxy Boo was too quick. In almost no time, he could hear him behind him, getting closer and closer and closer. The survivor spotted a narrow space between two machines. He wasn't sure he would fit, but it was his only chance. He'd never be able to outrun Boxy Boo and his springy legs as he bounced nearer and nearer to him. He tried to push his body between the machines, but he wouldn't fit. He had no choice but to get rid of his grab pack, tossing it away so he could squeeze his body between them. He pushed all the air out of his lungs, making himself as small as possible, and with the final push, was able to jam himself in between the machines just seconds before Boxy Boo's snapping jaws could grab him. The survivor shimmied between the machines and came out the other side into a small empty space. Maybe he'd have some time now to figure a way out of this mess, but no. He heard the sound of springs and looked up to see Boxy Boo leaping over the machines and landing right in front of him. It was all over for him now. Boxy Boo began to approach him. He was going to go slow, take his time, and enjoy this. The survivor cowered in fear and waited to hear Boxy Boo's sharp teeth pierce through his suit. But then, he heard something else.
Hey, Boxy Boo, up here!
Both the survivor and Boxy Boo looked up to see another survivor standing on top of one of the machines. It was one of the survivor's friends. He thought the monsters had gotten him, but he must have been able to escape. Soon, other survivors appeared too. 1, 2, 3 of them. Now, Boxy Boo actually looked a little nervous. Had he let himself be led into a trap? He wasn't going to go out without a fight, though, and he prepared for battle. The survivors attacked, punching Boxy Boo with their grab-pack fists. But just then, in a flash, one of the survivors was pulled up into the air and disappeared into the darkness of the factory's ceiling, before Mommy Longlegs suddenly dropped down again, holding the dead survivor. A flash of blue then appeared and took out another of them. It was Huggy Wuggy, who knocked the survivor across the room with ease, sending him crashing into a wall. A pink creature, Kissy Missy, then picked another survivor up and started squeezing them until it seemed like they would pop out of their suit. Soon all of the survivors were dead.
You've got to be more careful, Boxy Boo.
Yeah, I know they're weak, but these humans can be a real pain in the you-know-what if you let too many of them get the jump on you. They'll tear you apart. They're vicious.
Thanks for the help. It's just...
What is it?
It's a lot easier to stay out of trouble when you have someone to watch out for you. Like you, Huggy. Kissy Missy is always there for you no matter what. But when I get in trouble, I'm all alone in here.
Then why don't you go ask the creator to make you a friend?
A friend?
Yeah, someone to watch your back.
That's a great idea. I'll go talk to him now.
Boxy Boo left his friends who defended the Playtime Co. factory with him and sought out the one who had created him, the same man who had taken a weak, scared little boy and transformed him into the fearsome Boxy Boo. If he had done it once, then surely he could create another one like him. That was all he wanted, a friend to roam the factory with him, so he wouldn't be so alone all the time. Not just a friend, a best friend. No, even better, a sibling. That's right, a brother or sister, someone just like him, a twin even. And that's what he requested when he found the man they all called the Creator, a twin version of himself, another Boxy Boo. The Creator thought this was a great idea, but normally his creations were made by taking the mind of a child and using it to create an all-new toy. Even Huggy Wuggy and Kissy Missy weren't the exact same. Both had been formed from separate children. If Boxy Boo wanted a true twin, it would have to come from himself. Boxy Boo reached into his mouth and felt one of the teeth that the survivors had punched with their grab packs. He wiggled the tooth and felt it was loose. He gave it a tug, and the tooth came right out. He handed the tooth to the creator. The creator told him that this would work just perfectly for creating a twin. The creator took the tooth to a strange-looking machine and placed it inside. Boxy Boo watched as the machine came to life, and the creator fed it more objects like a jack-in-the-box similar to the one Boxy Boo was made from. The machine sputtered and shook, and then, after a loud bang, it went silent. A door on the machine opened, and steam poured out, clouding the room. When the air cleared, Boxy Boo stared as something stepped out. It had springs for arms and legs just like him, with furry clawed hands and feet, but instead of being red like his, they were yellow. Its head looked just like his too, but it was also yellow, and with long, stringy pink hair on top. Boxy Boo, please meet your new twin sister, Boxy Two. Boxy Boo watched with amazement as his new twin sister, Boxy Two, stepped towards him. He realized at that moment how scary he looked. She bared her teeth, stuck out her arms, and jumped towards him and embraced him in a hug.
Oh, brother, it's so good to meet you.
She squeezed him so tight that he could feel her claws dig into his box body. The creator told Boxy Two that she needed to be careful with her brother. He wasn't the one she needed to hurt. There were others for that. Boxy Boo was looking forward to showing his new twin sister around the factory. He showed her how they would stalk the floor, looking for the intruding humans who were trying to steal toy parts. Boxy Two got very excited as Boxy Boo described how he used his springy arms and legs to quickly rush towards the humans and grab them and hold them into his snapping jaws. Soon she would have a chance to try it out herself too, since a team of resource extraction specialists had just entered the factory. The humans thought they were safe. The twin Boxies allowed them to make their way through the factory without catching a glimpse of them by staying in the shadows. Occasionally, one of the humans would hear what sounded like a rusty spring squeak in the darkness, but when they looked, nothing was there. Boxy Boo whispered to his sister that they should wait for the group to split apart and take them down one by one, but she was so focused on the humans that she barely heard him.
I can't wait any longer.
Sister, wait!
But she was already leaping down on the humans below. Boxy Boo watched in amazement as his sister skillfully took out the group of humans. 2 more showed up, and Boxy Boo jumped in to help. Soon, only 1 human was left. They cowered in a corner as both of the Boxies approached them. But just before Boxy Two could finish them off, a flash of blue appeared. It was Huggy Wuggy, wanting to get in on the fun. He lifted up the human and squeezed him until he quit moving, before letting him fall to the floor. Boxy Boo was proud of his sister, but when he looked over at her, all he saw was rage in her eyes.
That one was mine.
She screamed before leaping towards Huggy, biting and clawing at him. Boxy Boo ran in and managed to pull her off of Huggy, but he was seriously hurt. Boxy Boo explained to his twin sister that they were supposed to work together, that the humans were the enemy, not the other toys. Boxy Two apologized to Huggy, but he was clearly scared of this new version of Boxy Boo. Boxy Boo knew he had a lot he needed to teach his twin sister. He told her that she couldn't always rely on raw aggression. They were strong, but a group of humans could still pose a threat, so they had to be smart about how and when they attacked. Boxy Boo showed her how to stalk the humans from the darkness and wait for just the right moment to leap out and get them.
I think I understand.
When the next group of resource extraction specialists made their way into the factory, this time, Boxy Two didn't rush in. She followed and watched them, and when the time was right, she took them down one by one.
You're doing great, sister. You're only a day old and already you've got the hang of it.
I couldn't have done it without you, dear brother.
Several days later, Boxy Boo was watching a human try to sneak through the factory when he was startled by something. It was a clawed hand on his shoulder, and he spun around to see Boxy Two. She laughed and told him that she was practicing her sneaking skills. He could tell that she was much better now. He hadn't heard her at all. She had another surprise for him too, an invitation to a party.
A party?
That's right, for you and all of the toys. As a thank you for all you've taught me.
But what about the...
Before he could finish asking about the human, Boxy Two had already leapt down and taken them out with one swipe of her claw. She wasn't just getting sneakier. It seemed like she was getting stronger too.
Come on, brother.
Boxy Boo followed his sister deep into the factory. She opened a heavy door and motioned for him to go inside.
This is where the party is.
Boxy Boo entered the room. There he saw Huggy Wuggy and Kissy Missy, but they were all tied up.
What the?
But before he could even ask what was happening, Boxy Two had jumped on her brother and pinned him down, and was soon tying him up with the rest. The other toys pleaded with Boxy Boo, asking her why she was doing this to them, but she didn't respond. Then they heard it, the unmistakable sound of humans entering the factory.
You have to let us go. We need to go stop the humans.
Stop the humans? Don't make me laugh. I've seen how all of you fight. You're weak, afraid of the humans, staying in the shadows. It's pathetic.
Boxy Two told them that she realized something, that her fellow toys were the real problem. They were holding her back, preventing her from protecting the factory floor the way it should be done. She didn't need any of their help. In fact, it would be easier if they were all gone.
You did teach me one trick, though. The power of surprise. I fooled you pretty good with my fake party, didn't I?
Boxy Two then pulled a sheet off a large machine. It was a huge, industrial-sized grinding machine with a conveyor belt leading into it. Boxy Two picked Huggy Wuggy up and placed him on the conveyor belt. She then pulled a lever, and the machine roared to life. The conveyor belt started taking Huggy towards the whirring metal machinery inside that would shred him to nothing but a pile of blue fuzz. But just before Huggy entered the machine, it suddenly shut off.
Hey, what gives?
Boxy Two turned to see the long arm of Mommy Longlegs on the machine's lever. Boxy Two then saw that with her other arms, she had already untied the other toys. They were now standing over her, and they looked angry.
No hard feelings, right? It was just a joke. I was never gonna actually let anyone get hurt. It was just a test to see what you would do.
But the toys didn't believe her.
It looks like you just learned the final lesson. Always keep your eyes open. You don't know who is waiting to get you.
Huggy Wuggy then grabbed Boxy Two and held her in place while Mommy Longlegs tied her up. Once she was trapped, Boxy Boo picked up his evil twin sister and placed her on the conveyor belt. He stretched out his spring arm and turned it.
No, no, no!
Boxy Two screamed as she was pulled into the machine. The machine made a series of loud noises and then a loud ding as it finished, spitting out a pile of yellow fur and pink hair from the other side.
I hope you learned a lesson too.
I did. I don't need anyone else. I already have all of you to watch my back.
That's right. Now let's go get those humans.